Aye.
Good evening, everyone. Adequate notice that this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Park Press, the Middletown Patch, the Middletown Township Public School District website, and the posting of such notice at the Augustine Minor Administrative Offices at each elementary, middle, and secondary school in the district. Roll call.
Mrs. Caminetti,
Here.
Mrs. Farley,
Here.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Here.
Mrs. Minuis,
Here.
Mrs. Skolasky, here, Mr. Tull,
Here.
Mrs. Wright,
Here.
Mrs. Tobacco,
Here.
Mr. Capone.
Here. I now need a motion for executive session with regards to HIP appeal, HIP update, and personnel matters. All in favor?
Aye.
See you in a little while. Good evening, everyone. With sadness, we share the passing of Carolyn Wolf-Gursky. Ms. Wolf-Gursky with the Facilities Worker in the District. We extend our deepest condolences to the Wolf-Gursky family. Former district employee Harold Godfrey has passed away. Ms. Godfrey was a teacher in the district for 39 years before retiring from Thompson Middle School in July 2005. Our deepest condolences are extended to the Godfrey family. Please stand for the pledge and moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to start with Dr. Kerrigan presenting our 2023-24 NJGPA access test results.
All right, good evening, everyone. Happy summer. We made it. We're here. This is the first round of testing results that have come into the district. The NJSLA results for grades 3 through 8 in the high school will be out in September. At this point in time, we have the results of our spring 2024 NJGPA, which is our high school graduation assessment, as well as the access for ELL students. So just as an overview, this is year 3 of NJGPA testing. It is a test we give to grades 11 students in math and ELA. This is one of the options for graduation. If students pass it, they're good to go for graduation. If they don't pass it, there are a number of other metrics that we could use to get them graduation ready. This is just some additional information about the NJGPA. As I said, there's a couple of other ways students can meet it, including PSAT scores, ACT scores. If none of those work, we also have a portfolio appeal option that students can complete during their senior year. We are very happy to report this year that in both ELA and in mathematics, our district had a graduation ready percent that was above the state graduation ready percent in both spots. For ELA specifically, our graduation ready rates for High School North and High School South are 84.9 and 91.3% respectively. For mathematics, our rate for High School North is 59.5% and our rate for High School South is 74.1%. In terms of the whole district, we have 91.3% for High School South for ELA versus 88.1% for the district graduation ready. For mathematics, for High School South, 74.1% for the school versus 66.8% for the district. For High School North, 84.9% graduation ready compared to 88.1% for the district. For mathematics, 59.5% graduation ready compared to 66.8% for the district. It's notable to mention that in both ELA and math, we exceeded the state average as a district. So while they both had different scales, both ELA and math, we were above the state level in for graduation proficiency. So we're really happy about that. And then in terms of participation in the exam, we always try to make sure that at least 95% of our students sit for the test, hopefully all of them. But due to the diligence of our teachers and our guidance department and our main office staff, we did have a very, very high participation rate in the exam. Students sat for the exam, they took all of the ELA and math sections, and we're really proud of them. We continue to work on the NJGPA. It's been 3 years of this test. They haven't released a copy of what one looks like. So we go based off of one sample test that's put out, as well as what we hear from other colleagues and what the Department of Ed puts out. And some of the work that we do here to make sure our students are graduation ready are having data meetings with ELA and math teachers to really unpack what these tests are about and how we can get students ready for them. We bring data to learning design teams that work in the schools to see how we can support mathematics and English language arts learning across other subjects like social studies and science. We also get these evidence statements reports. They haven't come yet for this year, but they should be out in the next couple of weeks. But this will show us where our students performed on state standards. And we can really take a close look at where students are exceeding and where we as a district might need to provide additional support. And wherever those areas are, we'll place an emphasis on them over the course of the year, revisit those standards, and integrate those across other subjects as well. We did a practice NJGPA this past year in December in lieu of an 11th grade Lincoln benchmark to get students ready and exposed to the types of questions they would see. Our interventionists at each high school would push into classes and work with students who were on the cusp of passing and not passing. So we try to target that group because they're most likely to move into proficiency. In our Algebra 2 courses, our interventionists did a problem of the day. They would push in or send the teachers a math problem to get students ready throughout the course of the year, because this assessment is cumulative. So when they take it in 11th grade, it's covering a lot of what they learned over a couple of years. So we try to have the interventionists and the teachers take on that work to get students fully prepared. And it doesn't just begin in high school. We also work with intervention in our lower grades as well, early and often, to build up prerequisite knowledge for high school. We have to report out on subgroups as part of our state required reporting. So this is just a subgroup performance chart for ELA of a variety of subgroups where our count was at least 10 students. This shows the % graduation ready by subgroup. And we also have the same for math. And we use this data as well as the other methods I mentioned on 2 slides ago to really target our instruction and our efforts to make sure every student is graduation ready. Moving on to access results. This was another assessment that was given to our multilingual language learners back in March. This is an English language proficiency test that assesses comprehension and communication in English and is given to our English language learners. There are 4 domains that the test covers: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And then they are given overall scores in those areas. The scoring for it is based on 6 different levels. It goes from entering to reaching, 1 through 6, as opposed to an NJSLA where scores are reported from like 600, 700, 800s. The access test is a simple 1 through 6. And students can score with decimals in between. So again, we are happy to report growth in this area as well. I included 2024 results and 2023 just for a side-by-side, but I know the teachers really, especially in this group, have been working hard to get our students really fluent in English listening and comprehension. And this year in particular, we have fewer students in that entering to emerging area and more students reaching, expanding, and bridging. We ran data this past week, and we're having kids exit our program in greater quantities than they did before. And I think it's just a testament to the home, the school, and the community really working with our students. And just as we get students ready for the NJGPA, we do the same for the access test as well through things like before and after school learning academies. Our students took iReady benchmark assessments as well. We have the MTPS model that we've been using for quite a bit now. And more recently, we've had a collaboration with Hazlitt. We teamed up with their coordinator of ESL and the teachers that teach those students. And we had a little PLC together on June 10th at Raritan High School, where we had a guest speaker come in and talk about teaching math and ELA to these students. And we're looking forward to meeting again in greater frequency next year, whether it be through after school meetings or half days or things like that. But they're our next door neighbors and they're dealing with the same kinds of things we are. So we're excited to start that partnership and increase achievement. Just with any test data, this is just one piece of information. This is not the be all end all, regardless of the assessment. This is just useful information for us as a district to analyze our curricula, reflect on our teaching practices, and inform future strategies for remediation, enrichment, differentiated instruction, and goals of the building learning design teams. So I leave you with that note that, this is just one piece of a greater puzzle, but we are focused, and when these reports come in, we do spend the time to look at them, analyze them, and work with staff on the results to make instruction better. If you're interested, both of these assessments have corresponding web pages through the DOE that list out more detailed information, resources, etc. The NJGPA results should have arrived home, but hopefully by Monday. We sent them out last week, but if they haven't, I'm sure they'll be coming. We also have all of our test scores on Lincoln Parent Portal, so you can access them there. And that includes iReady, it includes NJSLA when it comes out, NJGPA. Anything we do locally, we'll put into Lincoln as well. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Carrigan. Okay, we're gonna go to our committee reports. Curriculum instruction, this is Mark.
Thank you. We met on June 6th. We reviewed all of the curricula that are up for adoption or re-adoption this year in a variety of subjects. There's still a few that are going to need to be approved. They're being worked on, literacy grades K through 2 and 3 through 5, but the majority of them are on for vote tonight. We talked about how there is a report card redesign for grades 4 and 5. They're going to be getting a mix of a percentage grade and the sort of standards-based feedback that's being tweaked a little bit compared to how they have it now. So the design of this is to get them further prepared for middle school so that they're better ready for those number grades that they'll receive there. We also talked about high school students' transcripts. Currently, they have an unweighted GPA based on a 100-point scale. And moving forward, there will be an option to include a weighted average. This is something that some students and parents reached out about as something that is necessary for some college exceptions and scholarships. So we are providing that opportunity. Trying to see if there's anything else. I think that was about it.
Okay, thank you. Moving to student services, Mr. Cullen.
Thank you. Yes, we also met on June 6th. Covered a lot of ground, although it was a curriculum heavy meeting with all the re-adoption, but few exciting things we talked about. One, an ongoing goal, as we've reported over the past year or so, is minimizing contractors for different services like physical therapy, occupational therapy, and glad to hear there's already been some progress there. We've hired two new occupational and physical therapists as employees in the district, and I believe more to come in that area too, right? So that's good. Also, we do still have Tier 2 counselors from ESS that are kept on to perform fit to return evaluations. However, they're not always doing fit to return. So the administration has, worked on identifying other roles they could play with the skills they have to make the most out of those counselors in the schools, even when they're not doing fit to return evaluations. And then also the ESS program we have, that the Tier 3 program that's been at Ocean Ave is moving over to Bayview. And remaining with those resources that are already at Thompson and Thorne. So those, I think, those are the highlights for our committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
Moving on to facilities, Mrs. Doherty, Mrs. Lingard.
Our committee met on June 17th. We covered a variety of topics. A few of them you'll see on the agenda this evening. The first thing we talked about were project updates. At the time of the meeting, we said that they will be mobilizing equipment and materials to start work on the high school north turf and track. That's actually happened because we're past graduation now. So we have already got started on that project and look forward to completing that this summer. We have met with our new district architect to review the expectations and the wants for our Lincroft Annex renovation project. They are working on doing plans for us that will what they call permit ready. We'll be doing a portion of the work or in-house, and also trying to get some things installed with some rebates. So we're still putting the pieces together, but they are currently working on plans for us that we'll have to submit to the DOE for approval, to get that approved as an instructional space. So we continue to move forward with that project. On the agenda this evening, is our renewal for our property casualty and workers' compensation insurance. That is on the agenda. There is about an 8% increase in premium from last year. And it is again with the diploma JIF. We will be going into our second year of our 3 years commitment to the diploma JIF. Actually came in right where we budgeted, so that's good. We were expecting this much of an increase. Another item that's on the agenda this evening, we are going to be doing a renovation of the food service area at High School North. That is the only secondary school that we really haven't touched in the last several years as far as improvements to the food service area. We do have some funds that were accumulated in our food service account over the past few years, primarily due to the pandemic and the increased reimbursements we received from the federal and state governments on meals and so forth. It's something that a lot of districts actually are in the same situation. So we are using those funds to fund this renovation. We'll be redoing the service lines inside the kitchen area where the students get the food. We will be also adding an additional service station in the cafeteria itself to alleviate crowding at the main area for food service. So it's much needed. I know we haven't done any replacements of that equipment since I've been here, and that's been 14 years. So, and talking to the staff over there, the equipment's probably closer to 20 years old over there. So we're happy to be able to put that together. It's on the agenda this evening.
That money there can only be used for the food service.
Correct. We did talk about that. As I said, it's coming from the food service fund and you have to reinvest it in the food service program. So that's a good point. So we are doing that this summer, hopefully, if that gets approved this evening. We are also, I told the committee that we had applied for a grant from the local recreation improvement grant program for River Plaza's playground. We were notified that we did receive a grant, that the district had applied for $100,000. That was the maximum amount we could apply for. We were awarded $67,000. Not what we asked for, but we'll certainly take it. So we've already been communicating with the River Plaza PFA. They have also raised funds to supplement that project, and they are working on finalizing a plan for an equipment purchase so we can move forward with that. So that was good news. There is also an item on the agenda this evening regarding some of the district's vacant properties. We've been discussing in committees, the various vacant lots that we have. And as we went through with the Port Monmouth parcel, which we actually are selling, in order to even make property available in the future to sell, you can't do anything without getting DOE approval. So we decided as a committee to go through the process of getting DOE approval to make these parcels available for sale in the future if the board chooses. It doesn't commit anybody to putting anything for sale, but you just would not have that option without the DOE approving it. And as we're seeing with the Port Monmouth property, it does take quite a while to get those approvals. So we are going to do that process for these properties. So it would give the board the option in the future, if they wanted to consider selling it, we would not have to go through that waiting period with the NJDOE to get that approved. So that is on the agenda this evening. We also have on the agenda this evening an item to terminate the Lincroft Annex lease with the township. The township has removed all of their equipment and supplies from the building. This has been something that's been ongoing, and as we know, we're doing the improvement project, but the board just has to approve the termination of the lease since we are in the middle of the lease period. We also have on the agenda this evening a renewal of our agreement for our class 3 or SLEOs for the district. If you remember, we approved this 2 years ago. The initial term of the agreement was 2 years. The contract provides for renewal for another 2-year term. So we will have, that's on the agenda this evening for the board to consider for approval, and that would renew this agreement for the 24-25 and 25-26 school years. And on the agenda, you see the resignation for our Assistant Director of Facilities. We are in the process of conducting interviews to replace that position. And that was
I have
our
a question.
meeting.
We have to renew that diploma JIF every year.
There, yes, it's an insurance premium that, so we get that, we get a proposal or basically a premium assessment every year that has to be approved.
But are we approving continuation?
No, we're not, no, we already committed to a 3-year commitment with the JIP. So this is just the premium for the 24-25 school year for the workers' comp and the property and casualty insurance.
So there's no way for us to get out of this diploma JIF until.
At this time, I don't, I don't believe so. I mean, we'd have to explore that legally. I don't know, we haven't looked into that, but you do make a 3-year commitment to be in the fund. The same, school board's insurance works the same. When you're in a combined insurance fund, you commit to not every year, it's a 3-year period so that they know who is in the pool and what they're managing.
So let's just assume if this got voted down tonight, what's the next step?
We would have no insurance July 1st.
So we can't even table it until we see a contract. Review the contract.
I wouldn't recommend it because I don't think the district wants to be without liability insurance.
Obviously not recommending that the district do without insurance. I'm just wondering if we're able to switch to a different JIF because we've had so many issues.
I mean,
with this one.
we've made a 3-year commitment. I don't know. I've never gone through the process of trying to extricate from a 3-year commitment to
We
any
don't know if it's
insurance
legally
fund.
binding commitment.
Do they give us an agreement or do they have terms and conditions that we send to? I guess that's what we have.
There are terms and conditions. I don't have them in front of me because we've just, I've never been in a situation where we've been looking to break out of the 3-year commitment.
Just so the rest of the board knows what we're talking about, if you don't already, the diploma JIF has rejected our request to add our new special ed attorney.
Oh, I thought you told me they accepted it.
No.
There's a conflict, you told me.
No, I didn't. I couldn't have told you that because that wasn't a fact. They've never approved him.
Can't give it out insurance after July 1st. So. Versus.
I have a question about that, Jackie.
Yep.
If they didn't accept it, right? Or Bruce, whoever answers this, how do we, don't we have to use somebody that's in the jail?
No, so we don't, do you want to answer? So I'll answer and if I
Yeah.
miss anything, you can respond. The diploma JIF only covers litigation costs. So our general hourly billing for any attorney that represents the district is just our responsibility. So we are able to use who we have approved on our RFP process. We're able to use the new attorney that we wanted for special ed. But when it goes to litigation, we have to use someone who's part of the JIF. So in that case, right now, we still have our other attorney who's been litigating the cases.
So we'll go
But
back.
for the day, for the day-to-day and for the mediation, all that
New
stuff, we
attorney.
still can use the new attorney because it's our bill no matter what. So they can't dictate who we're allowed to use and who we have to pay. But when it comes to that, the insurance company kicking in to cover litigation costs, then we have to use only who's accepted in the JIF. And their reason for rejection is that he's involved, his firm is involved in another case that they're in. So they've rejected him on that basis.
Could the new attorney still be used as like second counsel though, or?
Yeah, it's just you have to pay for it.
We can pay for it, yep. And we can use them for PD, we can use them for the day-to-day with Michelle, we can use them for anything that we have our daily billing for, but I just wasn't happy with their response to not allow him to be in the JIF. Yep.
Amy, you're done. Really? Good.
I am, Mr. Fong.
Joan, do you want to add anything?
No, well, just that, the project for the North Field started exactly right after graduation, and that was good. Community has seen it. They're happy to say because with all those rumors that it wasn't going to be started or done. So that was a good thing. And just to go back to the annex project, we have a goal that we would like to see. We don't know if we could achieve it, but hopefully get it up and running by January, February. So
Yes.
it's not, indefinite. It's just if we could reach that goal, then we could start that.
All right, moving on to policy, Mrs. DeMarco.
Policy committee met on June 10th. We met to discuss creating a cell phone restriction policy for the district. And tonight there is a proposed policy on the agenda tonight for first read. Kate Farley spearheaded this policy, with some help from Gary. So Kate, if you wanted to tell the rest of the board, you're probably better at it, Maria.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm really thrilled to see this policy on the agenda tonight for a first read. As I mentioned in the last meeting, I think this topic is extremely important, particularly at this point in time. We have so much research and information out there after a decade of teens and smartphones indicating unequivocally that these devices can be very harmful for children whose brains are developing and who are navigating social situations that come along with learning how to be an adult. Just a few examples that sort of to exemplify what was driving the need for this policy at this point in time. Academically, students who are regularly interrupted by text messages had test scores 10.6% lower than students whose phones were off and away. Studies show that when smartphones are away, test scores increase up to 14% among the lowest achieving students. In terms of mental health, teenagers in the United States who spend 3 hours or more per day on electronic devices are at a 35% higher risk of suicide than those who spend less than 1 hour on them. Schools that have implemented and enforced away for the day cell phone policies have seen a reduction in mental health issues and an increase in academic performance. One recent study, for example, showed a 60% decrease in referrals to mental health professionals for female students after their school enforced an away for the day policy. In terms of social and emotional, a troublingly high number of alleged harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents, HIV incidents, reported to this board each month involve student use of cell phones. And without the distraction of cell phones during the day, students engage in more face-to-face communication, develop stronger interpersonal skills. Teens who decrease overall smartphone use report building better, stronger, healthier relationships with themselves and others. So while I think that the policy that's on for tonight is a strong start, I think there's a lot further we can go with this, but I'm very happy that the board has identified this issue that's very important to our students and our community, and it's committing to a mindset shift. It's clear to me from the parents and the teachers that I've spoken to that this is a much needed thing and that it will deeply benefit our students both academically and socially. And I understand that change is hard. There will inevitably be numerous iterations as we seek to implement the policy and figure out what is the most effective way to accomplish our goal of providing a truly safe space in Middletown for all students to learn, flourish, and thrive as children and young adults in our community. But I know that we are up to this task because we all share a common goal, which is doing what is best for our children in Middletown.
Thank you.
That drove the
And I will
policy.
just let everyone know that will be an accompanying regulation, I believe, from the administration and code of conduct.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you-
you mind if I-
Yeah.
you mind if I-
No, go ahead, Gary. Gary was part of it as well.
Yeah, I just, as part of the committee, this is something I care a lot about, and I was excited that we were able to address it. It's a first read, which means we're not voting on it yet, but when the time comes, hopefully next month, I would urge our fellow board members to support this and vote for it. Our role as board members is to listen to what our community, our teachers, our administrators report to us about what's happening in our schools that they're charged with running day to day. So we can improve or enact policies that ensure our district is well run and ensure that our students have the best opportunities for success here and when they move on. If our role is to mean anything at all, at a minimum, I think it means identifying if there's something harming our kids and then doing something about it. And I think that's what the policy that we're talking about tonight does. I think it's us doing something about our kids' undeniable dependence on these phones and on social media apps. It's us doing something about the mental health crisis plaguing young people everywhere, including Middletown. And that's a crisis undoubtedly that's fueled by the anxiety that social media fosters by constantly barraging our kids with, the requirement that they're always comparing their lives to that of their peers. It's us doing something about rampant bullying that festers on social media, which is a place where faceless tormentors thrive in the shadows. There's zero accountability. Kate mentioned the HIB reports we get, harassment, intimidation, and bullying reports that this board is presented with every month. I took some time this week to look over all the HIB reports, alleged HIB reports, that were reported in all 16 of our buildings over the past 3 months. It was almost 100 different incidents reported. And I did some analysis. I was horrified, not surprised, but I was horrified to see that almost one in three of those reports involved a cell phone, cell phone camera, cell phone video, cell phone, social media app, and online chat. That's 1 in 3 of those. That requires action. It doesn't invite just a hope that things will change, even if we don't change our approach. Any of the arguments I've heard in opposition to this, I understand, and they're rooted in a concern for security. I get that. The idea that parents certainly feel more secure when they have real-time, constant access to their kids in the event of an emergency in the building. I get that, but that concern is not implicated by what we have on the table today, because our policy that's out there now is it allows the students to have the phones with them. It's not some other districts where they take the phones away and remove them from the kids' access. That's not what this is. The point is that the phones need to be off and put away. Policy is designed to eliminate distractions in a routine school day. It doesn't hinder students from contacting their parents if there actually is a building emergency, of course. So I don't think that safety, that security concern, which is totally valid, is not implicated by this particular policy. In any event, that kind of a security emergency, I think, is already guarded against better here in Middletown than a lot of other places. We have our armed police officers, which I understand we're voting to renew that arrangement tonight, and other enhancements that we've made security related. But thankfully, that is an infinitesimally small probability. More pressing to me is the immediate actual emergency that's confronting us right now. And that's the serious harm to our kids happening every minute of every day as these devices and these apps just saturate their lives. We as a board have an opportunity and an obligation, I think, to do something about it, at least during those crucial hours when they're in our care, in our schools. So that's why I'm in favor of it. I would urge my fellow board members to give it a close look and vote to support it next month. Thank you.
And thanks, Gary. And I'll just also clarify for the public and the community, which I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but when it comes to the HIB law, the harassment, intimidation, and bullying law, this board is responsible for social media bullying or text bullying outside of school hours. So if we get a report that girls had a sleepover and there was text messages sent or Snapchats or anything like that, we have an obligation to affirmatively investigate that and to handle it. While we cannot control what goes on outside of school hours, I do feel that at least this is for someone who, as a board member, that I have to look at the pictures that are put on social media and the bullying, and I have to be watching videos of kids being humiliated over and over again by phones. I feel like it is my affirmative responsibility to have some kind of reaction to that and take a step towards trying to at least control what goes on in our school buildings, because we can't control it any other place. But I really do hope that the board takes policy seriously. I hope the community supports it and helps us to implement it. We all understand that, there's been a lot of chatter, there's been a lot of Facebook stuff going on. We understand that it's a big sea change. But I do think, Middletown has been a leader as long as I've been here. We've been a leader in many policies that have been groundbreaking in New Jersey. And I do feel like this is us taking a stand to at least be a leader and trying to combat the social media bullying and the stuff that goes on in the school building and try to get these kids back on track.
I have a question. Is there a way that are we gonna do a survey out to the parents so that we could get their input before the next meeting?
I would recommend.
Because I think that would be good so that we could all see, where they're going, because there's two sides to every story. And I think that, I'm not against a policy. I think we have a policy now, but I'm not against another policy. I do, when reading it, I'd like to see a few tweaks if that's going to happen between the board and the committee. Just to hear our recommendations. I think it's a well-written policy, but I do feel that there could be a few tweaks to it.
Well,
And I'm also curious, Jessica, what does administration think?
So obviously the cabinet group has had experience at all 3 levels, and we do believe that there needs to be a delineation of what that policy implementation looks like developmentally dependent. Elementary, middle, and high school all have very different developmental needs. Middle and high schoolers are much more autonomous from their parents. So there is a greater need for communication for a variety of reasons. I do know that all administrators are on this 100% same page of saying during instructional time, we need to have limited distractions for our kids. They need to be, off, put away. out of sight, and there needs to be more stringent implementation of our code of conduct to ensure that, there is follow through with consistency, classroom for classroom. So what that policy practical implementation looks like at all three levels will shift a little bit. I agree that there's probably some slight language shifts that we would need to make because the reality of implementation is going to be a little more challenging. I mean, a high school of 1,500 kids that are in constant motion during lots of times of the day. It will be a challenge to ensure that, high schoolers aren't on social media. That's a definite challenge. And what we don't want to do is tip the scales where our focus is solely on teachers and staff members policing cell phones. So I think organically and at its core and foundation, the administrative team does believe that we need to minimize impact of instructional time. I also just want to point out that, I'm as a parent myself, every single parent has the right or the choice to send their child to school with a phone or not. So, I think that's part of the equation here. And as Mrs. Tobacco said, we all have to work hand in hand and partner on that. And certainly, there is a partnership that happens between home and school in enabling students to navigate, their phones and the social media and the world as it exists today. And I've talked with my fellow administrators at length about that who have all run high schools. And, high school is where we look at the most autonomy. So I think we're all on the same page in the sense of this is a really important issue. Certainly, it's something that we all are challenged with dealing with to ensure that our kids have the best experience and have the most opportunity for success. But I also am a believer that it's part of the world now and how we navigate that is going to matter for the future. So I think this policy is well-intentioned, and we all are on the same page of trying to do something proactive to ensure that our students have limited distractions, and we also minimize some of these other things that we're seeing. But then again, doing it in a developmentally appropriate way that creates those middle grounds, because there are a lot of, there are so many negative uses, but there are some things that cell phones are used positively for. For instance, like communicating with more autonomous children, navigating rides, pickups, and some of the stuff, while great in theory, is a little bit more impractical with implementation because it's not realistic to think that high schoolers will come down to the office to make a phone call when something changes and shifts during the day. I have a high schooler, and that's not the reality of their existence. But I was also an elementary school principal, and I see no need for an elementary school student to have a cell phone at all during the day. So, there's differences depending on the level you're talking about and how we're using them too, right? Like at those levels where they are allowable, when, how, what are the parameters? And what I think is the most crucial key is consistency and expectation across all classrooms and within the buildings. Because that's where we get into tricky territory. If you ask a high schooler, I'll take that as an example, can you use your cell phone? They will have a variety of answers depending upon the class they're in. So the consistency and the enforcement of our code of conduct, which is actually really strong when we started to look at it, are really the important pieces of this in the practical implementation of this, and really trying to change the dynamic of what's happening with cell phones in our schools.
And I'll just address the question of whether or not we're doing a community survey. That's obviously an administrative decision, but I will say that the board of elected officials has never once done a community survey regarding what board policy to implement, and that I believe it is my responsibility and yours to protect our students. It is crystal clear that we have dozens of bullying incidents every month, if not more, made by cell phone recordings that are harming students. And I'm following my ethical and legal obligations to have a response to that.
By the way, those
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just asking a question because I wasn't here last month when this whole topic went
It
down.
wasn't really discussed last month, but
Oh.
I would also argue that in terms of community input, that's exactly why we have public meetings and why we have 2 readings of a policy. And publicly advertise it and people can come out and express their opinions one way or the other. They can
And we
reach
have
out to us
gotten
via
emails.
email, which
We've
we've
got
gotten
emails that
many.
we have, there has been a poll on Facebook.
I just think that it doesn't hurt to do the survey. I don't think it's gonna change much if a lot of people feel that
Completely
way.
up to the administration,
way
if they
it
feel
is.
that's appropriate. I do agree that we have never done that before for another.
But I would like
the
to,
board.
It wouldn't be about the policy, though. It would be more about the practical implementation of the policy.
I would also just like to point out, this is off on to your point about the differentiation of the policy does call, as you know, the
Yeah, yeah.
differentiation between
Yes.
the school levels.
But the community might not know that.
Right,
Yeah, I
so just so
understand
that
that, yeah.
everyone understands, the proposal is that for elementary, where we don't have any, by the way, bullying incidents involving phones, because most elementary students don't have their phones, so it's really not a concern. And in the middle school, the phones would be away all day. And in the high school, they would be away during instructional time, educational time. And then they would be permissible, in the hallways and during this 80-minute open block.
Right, and we also, there's no problem, there is no question about high schoolers having to go to the office to make a phone call. They have an 80-minute unsupervised block every single day, which they would be able to use that cell phone. And they also have passing time between classes, which we had conceded to allow them to use those cell phones.
And I would
So-
also point out that in terms of the reference in the policy to social media, the point is that even in the high school level where they have this autonomy that they're being given, the responsibility to use their phones in the correct way, the understanding of the district is that those phones will not be used to access social media during the day. So certainly no one is envisioning a police state where all that teachers are doing is walking around, checking everybody's phone to make sure they're not on Snapchat. But should a student be caught on Snapchat, should they post a photo or a video of someone that they tipped during their open block and use social media for that, that would then implicate additional code of conduct violations because it's built into the policy and it is understood that that is not acceptable in Middletown schools.
I would just want to add on the topic of doing the survey, and I get it, we do those, or administration does those for different things. On this issue, because like, as you pointed out, the code of conduct that's not really being enforced fully enough already outlaws all of this. So any survey to change, to kind of weaken that or change that or allow it in more context than it already is that essentially inviting a policy that becomes more lenient than what our code of conduct already has and what the, kind of model policies out there would require on the state. So I think it's a little different issue from something that's not already allowed in the first place.
And I do want to say respectfully that I do think the perspective of high school parents is often different than elementary school parents. And I think our
I just have
principals at the
feeling-
secondary level can attest to that, because they've all lived in a high school with lots of high school age kids, and it's a very different dynamic.
But again, I don't know what that necessarily has to do with the responsibility of this board to set policy that's protective of our students.
Because I do believe that there will be some high school parents that probably may believe that this is too restrictive for the high schooler.
So they're gonna want them during
Yeah.
educational.
No,
time?
not educational time. I'm just saying,
So what else could
generally,
there
What else
be?
could there be?
Because the
there's
policy
we
calls
talk
for-
about no carrying to the bathroom, no,
Why should
that they're off during the day, not just silence. Like, there's a lot of nuanced things that are going to be really hard to enforce, as I had brought up. And listen, you have 4 administrators that have all operated in a high school, and I know the policy is well intentioned, but I also think you have to take the perspective of the people that have to implement this.
Well, that's where the regulations and the code of conduct come in, I believe, and I also believe that you can set an expectation without having to create a mask police state in our buildings like we used to have during the mask days, where the teachers, all they did was police masks all day. I believe this can be set as an expectation and a culture shift.
That's fine.
Without
We
it
can do-
being,
we
without
can
us
do
having
survey
expectations
to
of.
See if what the community's perspective on this is.
I also
And
hope
then
that
it
the
still doesn't
parents-
change if we have 5 board members that push a policy through, that doesn't change what the community survey says.
That's fine, but it's a piece of evidence. I hope,
It is a board responsibility to set policy for this school district.
I certainly hope that the parents of high school students who would appreciate their children not being filmed in the bathroom would weigh that into consideration when responding to the community survey.
and I think that it paints a picture of a very small sector of the population that are bad actors at times, and they don't make good choices, but that isn't necessarily our entire community.
But respectfully, the data, like just a sample of which I provided, because
But
I
there's
could
data
go on
on
and
the
on, is about,
respectfully.
We have no data on both sides.
There is data about the improvement in
Academic.
mental health, social and emotional well-being and academics. Does not have anything to do with a few bad actors. It's a cultural
But
shift.
that's the instructional timepiece we're talking about.
No, it's not.
We're
The
talking-
social, emotional and mental is not the instructional.
I can't sit here and pretend that we don't have a problem with bullying in this district. I will not sit here and pretend that we do not review HIBs every single month. That include pictures of what our students are doing to bully other students in our school buildings, within the classroom, in the hallways, in the bathrooms. I will not deny that we sit here and review. There has been more than one instance of a kid being videotaped in a bathroom, going to the bathroom. There has been the amount of things that we have to deal with as a board member and look at and know that these kids that have been victims have not, you are irreparably harmed when you're a victim like that. And we have had very bad outcomes in this entire state due to bullying. So at least this is a step in the right direction to take one stand towards trying to curb it. And that is all that this policy is trying to do.
And
And
it's very innocuous.
it's very innocuous. The high schoolers have the ability to use their phone whenever they want. No one's asking for anyone to police the bathrooms. If a kid wants to sneak and look at their phone in their bag, no one cares. If they get caught using it to bully, we want punitive action. Cell phones are, I don't believe that that is a parental right to have your kids access all day long in the school building. I believe it is, the kids have their phones with them all day. Nobody is taking the phones away. If there's an emergency, they're able to use it. If they need something else, they're able to use it. If your kid has I've had questions from parents. If your child has an IEP or a 504 plan, and the child uses that as an educational tool or an assist for their day, that is a completely different category. If your child has an anxiety disorder and needs to check in on their phone with their parents and they have an IEP or a 504, completely different story. Those are different instances that we are able to adjust and accommodate children for. But in general, if the child is caught using a phone for a bullying situation, this policy will at least give this board teeth to enforce our code of conduct, which has not been being enforced consistently in our schools for years now. And it will give us the ability to have punitive down. Now we can say to someone, if you are caught using that phone, your cell phone privileges are suspended. It is a privilege to bring that phone to school and have access to it. So now you can have that cell phone privilege suspended, and that's however the administration wants to administer that. Hand it in when you walk into school in the morning. Call the parents and say they're not allowed to bring their phone to school. I don't really care how it gets implemented. I just care that we are at least taking a step to control what has gone on and what we have borne witness to in this district. That's the policy board.
No, I mean, listen, I just want to say, as I said to Kate and I said to Jackie, after we discussed this at the last meeting, I'm really happy that we're finally tackling this as a district. We should have done this years ago, in my opinion. And yes, it's going to be hard, and I am not discrediting anything that you are saying or any of the administrators or the principal, at the building level. Like Kate said, change is always very hard. This has been a huge issue that I think all of us have really been sort of asleep at the wheel. Not only with our own kids, but for us, we're in charge, of basically trying to help steer every single student in this district. And I think that in many ways, we've been failing them along this. And we're not the only ones who are finally starting to tackle this. You're seeing this in other districts throughout New Jersey. You're seeing this in New York is ready to put a state ban on it. Los Angeles County, one of the biggest counties, right, school districts is doing this, and they're starting to figure out what their regulations are. And it's going to be difficult, but this is something that I think we need to do. For me, I think some of this honestly maybe not have gone far enough, as I said to Kate, privately, but at least we have something here. We have our other, policy that's been in place since like 2016, I think it was. It still, references beepers, and other things. It's so outdated, but it was just never enforced. We actually had something, but we just never really enforced it. And I think that's what we finally need to start doing and really see the difference that this can make. Other states are also tackling legislatively, finally pushing back on all the social media companies, right? Because the federal government's not going to step in and do it. So states are finally doing it on their own. And so it's about time that we're actually finally looking to see what we can do for our kids.
Nobody else have a comment, speak?
This is definitely a step in the right direction. I just want to go back to what I originally said. I'm not against it. I just want to know if there's a few things that could be tweaked. My concern, and maybe nobody else shares it, so it'll go as it goes. But my one concern is where it says, that the students are not allowed to use it during transition time. You know,
In the middle school.
well, yeah, in the middle school. Well, in the middle school, they shouldn't be using it at all,
That's right.
but
So
in the
that's just
high
the third
school.
one.
And the part about, and I have to be honest with you, I have middle school grandkids and they have to turn them off and leave them in their backpacks in the middle school. They're not allowed to have them on their bodies, so I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I'm just concerned about the turn off too. Because once you turn your phone off, you lose the ability to track your child. So is there any way that we could say silence them?
I think that the problem with, I mean, look, we can.
I'm
talk about
just
it.
asking.
I think the problem with silencing is, as we all know, your phone still buzzes, and as one of the stats that I read, that constant, I think it's something like, they get like 60 notifications an hour, so it's constant buzzing, so having that. Now, if you wanted to do something where the phones are collected and they're kept at the front of the classroom while the teacher is teaching, but you can keep it on silent, so a parent could, I guess, confirm that their child is still sitting in history class where they're supposed to be by tracking their phone, then I get, sure. we can talk about that.
I'm just asking for suggestions.
That's, I think, but that's
Could it-
the difference. It's a trade-off, right? Like, parents have expressed they don't want the phones taken away. They don't want them physically
No, they don't.
collected, even though a lot of teachers would far prefer that because it's very difficult for them
Yeah.
to manage the phones being in the backpacks, being in the pockets. So trying to strike that balance, okay, keep your phone on your person, turn it off so that it's not distracting. You're not tempted. I understand. It buzzes, you're tempted. It's a human reaction.
I guess they could turn the volume off too.
I don't think.
No
I
one's,
think-
no one's checking
I
in
think
back.
the buildings that have had the most success that we have seen are the ones that have kids put their phones in pockets. Because
Like in a pocket
otherwise,
hanging over
listen,
the
I
building.
point blank asked my high schooler, what would you do? And he said, I would use it anyway.
Sure.
And like, they would all, they're gonna find a way. So like, we have to find a way to get all these things accomplished, because we're all agreeing that they're important. But we have to find a way to manage it with the process that's going to be ideal, so we don't get into because once we put this into motion, teachers are going to make it's gonna become the focus, because they're going to be wanting to vigilantly implement the policy,
Sure,
right?
sure,
And all the
that's-
practices with
For a
it,
time, absolutely.
right? So the places we've seen that have the most success are those that have to put them into some kind of
Yeah. I think that's
holding
great.
position
What's
in the
that?
classroom that's within a sight line, so the child can see their phone. And the other piece of it, which I think is important, is that they do not have the ability to carry them with them to the bathrooms,
I completely agree.
right? So it's more so and like I said, no one is in disagreement with this. I think it's more so the nuances of the actual policy language where we don't want to become handcuffed as an administrative group and building leaders and having this be the focus all day, because now you're gonna have, he's on social media. Somebody's gonna tell this, it will kind of get a life of its own unless we can kind of corral it into some kind of process that works for us.
You can also put your phone on do not disturb when it's silent.
Sure.
They're getting a vibration.
Right, that kind of stuff.
And Find My iPhone is available even if the phone is turned off or dead.
What's that?
Find My iPhone is available if the phone is turned off or dead.
So for the
Okay.
the tracking.
For the
Oh,
tracking.
it's just for the tracking. You can still track your kid's phone if it's on.
I wasn't talking about tracking.
No,
the
I.
phone.
No, I do.
No, but I mean,
No, no.
it's not about tracking the phone. I think it's tracking the kid too.
Yeah, a lot of.
A
lot of
people
people use apps like 360, like there's lots of other, I track,
Like in the school, when he's like in his classroom for the day,
not necessarily if he's going on a trip or there's after school activities, et cetera. School's an
but
extension.
after school, it's not
different.
during school.
And a trip is not school.
Right.
So,
So I think we're at a point that obviously we have this policy. I think it's overall 95% what I'm hearing there. Let's bring this back into policy. Let's see what we have for the next meeting. Got that? Make sense? Okay,
yep.
sure. All right, now we move on to public comment on agenda items only. Anybody have a public comment, please step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. And you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jeannie Isaacson. I live on Roxbury Business Lawn. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So I just want to touch on your cell phone policy, because I actually run a Facebook page for parents and teachers in Middletown. And I did do a survey regarding cell phones. And 80% of the people that voted that the kids should be able to keep their cell phones in their backpacks. Free time should be spent interacting with students or finding other activities to do other than being on a device. I know for my son in middle school, he had one teacher that had a basket in his room and he would tell the kids to put their phones in the basket. And he also did an incentive with that, where he would check their times. So if they were on screen time under an hour, he would give them a couple extra points on an assignment, which I thought was good. The only issue I see with it is, hate to put it on the teachers, but I know that any free time that he would have, the teachers would say, go on your cell phones. So I think that's gonna be a big issue.
Hopefully it wouldn't be if like this was policy.
I hope
That should
not,
be-
but
I
I
understand what
mean,
you're saying. There's no doubt that currently like, there's an issue in the building.
my other thing is like, they have an advisory class in middle school, which is a big waste of time. And I know, and my son's going into high school, and I know that they also have like an 80-minute block of like a free-for-all. I don't understand why we can't bring back another useful skills course for these kids to be a part of. That would help prepare them for real life experiences. I mean, in high school, I don't remember any free minutes. We always had a class that was, filling our day. I mean, I don't understand, we send these kids to school for 6 hours a day, now we 80 minutes of free time to do nothing. I mean, let's let them out 80 minutes early and let them come home then. I mean, I can find a lot of productive things for them to do. But that's my piece on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Would anyone else like to make a public comment?
My name's Laura at 16 Whiteacre Boulevard. I also wanted to comment on the cell phone policy. A few months ago, I started asking about what the policy was for middle schools. I have a rising sixth grader, and I was honestly shocked when I found out that there was no formal policy being enforced in the schools, and that kids were using their phones throughout the day in the cafeteria, during their open block times. And honestly, real quick to about advisory and the open blocks. If kids don't have enough homework to be doing during these times, I'm not sure what's happening in school, because there's plenty of homework and studying that can be done to use that advisory and open block. That's what I did in high school with my study hall. I've spoken to many parents and educators in other districts, and even New York City, there's a no phone policy in middle school, and that appears to be the standard. Children need to be focused on learning and socializing, face-to-face conversation. They should not be distracted by texting and social media or taking pictures or videos of other students, which can later be used against them to bully a child. I am 100% in favor and supportive of middle school policy, but I believe the high school policy needs to be further amended in the near future. Allowing students to use their phone while passing during lunch in open blocks seems completely counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish here. We're all unfortunately aware of the dangers of social media, and honestly, in my opinion, giving kids access to it while on school property is negligent. The students should not be able to use their phones throughout the day. I don't care what grade you're in, kindergarten to 12th grade. I trust all of you that you have put in place a secure school. We have armed police officers, which is a huge issue to get past here. We have security guards, and social media is dangerous to our students. Of course, we want to be able to contact our kids. I'll call the school if I need to contact my kids. That's what we all did here. That's how we all grow up. I am, quite frankly, a little disgusted by some of the comments that I've heard from people here tonight. Since COVID, Middletown District has been a leader of change, and I would like for us to continue down that path and implement a policy that makes sense and keeps our children safe. Because without question, other districts are going to follow in our footsteps. And this is what makes Middletown a great place, because we have always been the ones to take a step away and not follow what everybody else is doing. We have no problem doing it during COVID. And so let's do it now. Let's continue to put children first and move forward with a policy that makes sense.
Thank you. Would anyone else?
That was very emotional.
It's an emotional topic. It's an emotional topic.
So my name's Sarah Weinstein, 30 Kings Highway. I've been thinking about like so many aspects of this today. Sorry. Ooh. Got me fired up. So, listening to you guys actually made me change what I wanted to say. And it kind of comes into like vulnerability and autonomy. My kid's just going into first grade. So these are like our most vulnerable children. They have no phones, right? Thank God. I'm gonna hold off on that as long as possible. I trust, like you said, in this school to keep them safe and to know when I need to pick them up, when I need to be there. As you get older, if you become more autonomous, why do you need to talk to your parents all day long? Autonomy is the opposite of that. It's called planning your day. Mom, I have sports. I'm not gonna be on the bus. I need a pickup at this time. Sports got canceled, call after school. Get a ride with a friend, walk, take the bus. I'm not really sure, outside of Jackie, like the special instances that you were talking about, why you need to be talking to your parents during the day when you're in high school. You're about to go to college. There is no reason for that in my mind. You need to start separating, being mature, planning your day, and being responsible for what you're going to need after school. I'm struggling, after all the comments that you guys are saying, it kind of sounds like the policy needs to be more strict. Because what you have in place now is going to be difficult to implement. It's going to be hard on people in the schools, because I understand that now it's giving you a line for like, if somebody starts bullying, you have a way to go after them and be able to make sure that they can't bring their phone to school. But how about we do something to just stop it from happening in the first place? So, instructional time, no brainer. The concept to me that kids are even on their phones in a classroom is like unbelievable in the first place. But, using it in between class, using it on this 80-minute free period or lunchtime or whatever it is, that's probably when all those problems start in the first place. So if we don't want to be policing kids all day long, maybe we should just look into making it even more strict and prevent all of these issues from happening. Because let's be honest, if you want to be autonomous, grow up, figure out your schedule, figure out your communication, make your plan, and get it done ahead of time. And then when it's there and there's an emergency and you need to access your phone, it's there on your person, but otherwise it should not be out during the day at all, for all of the reasons that everyone just stated.
Thank you. Anyone else? I make a comment?
Mark Sabrowski, 30th Hall. I agree with what everybody said here tonight. The cell phones are an issue. My kids are young still. There's a really cool pledge that's out called Wait Until 8 to get parents to band together at a young age to keep kids off. Starting them at a young age, keeping them off the phones, keeping them off social media, can get the ball rolling so that by the time they get to high school, they're used to not having a cell phone. And the policy, I agree, should probably be stricter or have more detail to it. And after a very short period of time, the precedent will be set. That will be the new way. People will get over it, they'll have growing pains for a year or 2 months or however long it'll be. And then the community will be better off and safer in the long run. And there are ways to get in touch with the kids. And the schools are safer now than they've ever been, having an armed security guard, armed officer in the front door, every door locked in the school. I can't even go pick my kid up from school. I can't walk in to pick my kid up. I have to stand outside whether it's raining and let them bring the kid. So if it's a security issue, I think the schools are safe. So good job on the policy. I hope you can fine tune it. Keep it moving. Thank you.
Anyone else like to make a quick comment? See no one else, we're gonna move on. I'm gonna thank to the superintendent. This is Dr.
So just want to first off congratulate our high school graduates. We had two outstanding graduation ceremonies, very well attended, great ceremonies. So best of luck to our graduating seniors. Also, we had 3 middle school promotion ceremonies. So I just want to say best of luck to those 8th graders who are heading into their freshman year of high school. Thank you to all of our school administrators and staff members for a successful set of ceremonies. It really just takes a lot of work to pull off those events, so they wouldn't happen without the teamwork of all of the individuals that are involved. And thank you to the board members who attended all of our ceremonies. We had, attendance at all of them, so thank you for that. Tonight, we were also able to recognize staff members that had retired this school year. And I can't express how much gratitude I have and the district has for the dedication and commitment that they've given to the children of Middletown. They have just touched countless lives and they will be missed. And so I just wanted to publicly congratulate them on their retirement. If you've driven by High School North, progress and work has started on the High School North turf and track project. The old turf has been removed and we will be looking to repurpose pieces of that turf to repair some of our batting cages and other places where it could use a bit of a spruce up. And that turf, while it's, end of life for a larger turf field, some of those pieces are salvageable and we'll be repurposing them to other places in the district. Tonight, I will be recommending Dr. Christopher Reginio to take over as the new principal at New Monmouth Elementary School. I am confident Dr. Reginio will continue the fine work that Mr. Ferry has done with the school community. Later in the summer, there'll be a meet and greet with the New Monmouth community so that everyone will have the opportunity to meet Dr. Reginio in person. And then next month at our July meeting, we will hopefully have a plan in place to name a new principal at Village Elementary School, as tonight we will be accepting, provided the board votes that way, the retirement of Mrs. Maureen McCormick. Our ESY and summer programs are getting ready to begin. July 1st starts our ESY program at New Monmouth and Bayshore, and our SOAR program will begin shortly after that. In August, we will also have our Jumpstart math programs and our Jumpstart AP programs, which will be held at High School South this year. I want to thank the community for a wonderful school year. I think the board and the administrative team and the community at large has accomplished just a great deal in a very short period of time. I do agree with one of the public commenters who said Middletown is often ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, and that is 100% the truth. And while we may all have opinions that are really strong, I think, I forget who said it, we all are in it for the children of Middletown. And I think we all pride ourselves in this district on being progressive and doing things ahead of what everyone else has done. And people do look to us. So I certainly respect all the opinions that were shared all throughout the years and certainly tonight as well, because those opinions are what make this community and the school district what it is. So I just want to thank everybody and I'm just express how proud I am of the collective efforts of the district. And it does take a village to raise children, and certainly this is a great village to be in. So have a fantastic summer and we look forward to seeing everybody in September when many of our new initiatives will be rolling out for the school year.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman. Okay, I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes 9A through D.
So,
All in favor?
hi.
Opposed, abstentions.
I am abstaining on May 21st.
Okay.
I am also.
Yep. Need a motion to approve, no, I'm sorry, we have a Board of Education consent agenda resolution honoring 23-24 student representatives. Be it further resolved, the members of the Middletown Township Board of Education extend their best wishes to Jake Dembowski and Adriana Wheeling for all their future endeavors. Need a motion to approve 11A through S business office consent agenda.
So
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? I need a motion to approve recommendation of the superintendent of schools consent agenda. A through U minus U number 10.
So moved.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm opposed, I'm sorry, because you said you 10. I'm just trying to, so, right, it's Dr. Virginia, but I think it's the other brother too. I'm opposed on, I guess it's U21, attachment HR 7, I'm a no on that, but yes, I'm.
U21.
Well,
I'm opposed on 12U21, and I'm also opposed on 12P and Q.
I'm voting no on any yes tips and yes on any unsound.
I'm opposing U21 HR 7.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to approve U10.
So moved.
Second. Amy, can we get a roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Caminiti,
Yes.
Mrs. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Minuis,
Yes.
Mrs. Skolasky.
Yes.
Mr. Toll,
Yes.
Mrs. Wright,
Yes.
Mrs. Tobacco.
Yes.
Mr. Capone.
Yes, and congratulations, Dr. Virginia.
I'm sorry, what are you?
Old business.
Oh, okay.
Okay, do we have anybody who has old business? Old business?
No.
Maybe we ought to do business. We want to have new business.
I have new business.
All right.
I know, very unusual. I just wanted to, like, my notes here. I just want to let the board know that each year we submit our comprehensive financial report for review by the International ASBO Association. That's the Association of Business Officials. We do that to get reviewer comments on the completeness of our disclosures, everything that's in the report. I mean, you've all seen the report. It's quite lengthy. There's a lot of information that goes in there. We've submitted the last 12 or 13 years. We received the award. We did receive the award again for this year for the report year end June 30th, 2023. I just want to take the opportunity to thank Dan Valente, he's our assistant PA, Maureen Cassiano, our accountant, and everybody in the business office, because when they come in and do the audit and they look for the information, it's all hands on deck. Everybody has to participate, and without all of their good work, we wouldn't be here. So I just want to let the board know that.
It's good news. Thank you very much. Anybody else new business? Okay, now we're gonna open up the microphone for public comment on anything you want to talk about. Anyone have anything specific? State your name and the record.
Jeannie Isaacson, Roxbury Road from Melbourne. I came tonight in regards to the security guards. I know that they all need to reapply to be rehired. Our security guard at Bayview Elementary School is gonna be. We love Mr. Steve. I actually did a petition online for him because we would love to have him back at Bayview School. All of my children attended Bayview. My daughter's a former student and she's like, he can't leave there. I did acquire 280 signatures for the petition for him. And these girls would like to speak.
Hi, my name is Ella Hilton. I live on Roxbury Road in Salisbury. I'm a former student at Bayview Elementary School. I'm here to talk about Mr. Steve, the school security guard. Mr. Steve should stay at Bayview Elementary School because he brings so much care and joy to the students there. My brother and sister are now in first grade. They look forward to seeing Mr. Steve in the hallway and the walk home. Mr. Steve is someone who puts his time to say hi to the kids and also knows everybody's needs.
Mr. Steve is the greatest security guard that I know, and this is why I think that he should stay at Bayview Elementary School. Hi, my name is Grace Wall. I live on Church Street in Belford. I am also a former student at Bayview Elementary School. I currently go to Bayshore Middle School, and my little sisters attend Bayview Elementary School as well. I believe that Mr. Steve should stay at Bayview. He is not just an average security guard who checks IDs and sits at a desk. He is actively saying hello to the students at Bayview, always making them feel special and makes everyone feel safe and protected. He truly loves the students at Bayview, and when you love someone, you want to protect them even more. He keeps the students safe. And Mr. Steve is the best security guard Bayview has ever had. Bayview would not feel complete without him there, and he's a part of the Bayview family. This is why Mr. Steve should remain as a security guard at Bayview Elementary School. And I pass by the school, I do see Mr. Steve walking about the playground when the kids are out there, and I do like that. Just because I know that we have a situation in our area, and he knows every kid's name. He is a great guy, and I would love to keep him at Bayview. I mean, it's not
I
all
think we're
about
all
happy.
agreeing this is Steven's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome. Thank you.
Would anyone else wish to make a public comment? Seeing anyone else stepping forward, wish to adjourn the meeting, a motion to adjourn.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Have a great night, everyone.